I'll let you guys do a little bit of background, but I specifically asked these guys for what I believe to be that they're all very successful at working those leads. So that's the reason why I asked these folks to share it, and I think that you guys probably all touch on it a little differently. So I wanted to get some different perspectives. So why don't you guys give just a little bit of backdrop, time in the business, maybe what percentage of your business comes from online lead sources, and just a little background, a couple minutes. Whoever wants to start.
I've been doing residential real estate since 2011. Up until this year, very little of my business came from internet leads. But earlier this year, I sat down with Jimmy because I was getting a lot of internet leads, but not converting them. If they got phone numbers, you can call them, but if they just provide an email address, the canned email comes to you, I'd like more information on this property. You always say, what can I get for you? You've probably seen everything through Zillow or Trulia or whatever it is, the size of the rooms, it's all on there. And but you never get a response, or very, very, very few times get a response. So I sat down with Jimmy and said, hey, how do we get people to respond to these leads, when you send them an email back? So we put together this, kind of free email system, and providing them with a lot of information that they can't just get. If they dug deep enough, they could, through the internet, but they're not going to get from Trulia or Zillow. So since we started doing this, or I started doing this, and Kate started doing this, I've closed 3 deals this year from it. I got a closing this afternoon from doing it. I got one more at the end of this month, and then working with a couple other buyers through the system. So.
And that happened in a relatively short period. I mean, it was like instantaneous.
Yeah, we probably, I don't know when we talked about it and kind of started putting this together, maybe February, March.
So since March, so February, so let's say the month of March and April, 3 closings from.
Yep.
So pretty.
Plus one today and one at the end of the month, so 5.
So 5 total in 60 days. So that's pretty quick from none to somewhere.
From that system right there to
from that system right there, which we'll go deep.
just Scott gets it.
Well,
That's great, Scott.
It's for sale.
no,
Congratulations.
Scott hired me at my obnoxiously expensive coaching rate. No, so but I thought it was valuable for Scott because, again, that's not his background, which for most of us it's not. So how do I go from 0 to 6 in 60 days? I mean, that's a great, so versus some of these other folks you're going to hear astronomical numbers. So I knew that there would be this overwhelming aspect where I can't start here and be like Jen tomorrow, but halfway between, or a quarter of the way between maybe is what Scott's doing.
Yeah, and I think some of the websites like Trulia, I think, when somebody inquires about a listing, it doesn't just go to us. One agent, it goes to 3, sometimes maybe 4 maybe. So I assume that all those agents are replying with the same thing. What can I do for you? What kind of questions do you have? You want to see the property, whatever it is. So they're getting that from multiple people. So you have to be the lucky one they reply to if they're going to reply to somebody. But this, providing them with a lot more information, I think is, one guy, actually one guy I'm still working with, he didn't reply for the first 3 emails. I sent him maybe 2 more. He finally replied, wanted to look at a $65,000 condo. And then over there, he told me he's getting a divorce. He's got a $250,000 house in Fishers that he owns outright that he's going to have to sell because of the divorce. And his divorce attorney told him he should interview at least 3 real estate agents, but he told me he didn't want to. He just wanted to use me because of all the information I provided. And if I tried that hard on a $65,000 listing to gain him as a client, then what would I do for a $250,000 house?
Cool. Jen?
I've been in the business since 2001. Background in new home sales for about 6 years, and then worked for a company previous to this that was very good at generating web leads. So I would say for the last 6 years, the majority of my business was converting web leads. I would say the big key is response time, that you need to be immediate when you're calling or emailing a web lead. Because just like Scott said, some of these leads, you may not be the only agent that they've sent info to. And you need to have a process, just how he's got an email process. I have a phone and an email process that I go through, where they're typically getting 2 phone calls within the first 24 hours in an email. And it's usually 4 phone calls and 5 emails before I will put them on a drip campaign. So it's reaching out to them multiple times. I've I've actually added in text messaging. If I have a phone number, I will text them. And I've had pretty good response rate, I would say, from that.
And give me an idea of the number of transactions you would expect to close this year.
From web leads or?
Yeah, what?
25 from web leads.
Okay.
30.
Okay.
I mean, so when I came here, I transferred my license in the middle of February. And at that point was the first time I had started generating web leads on my own. And within the first week, I closed 2.
I was looking here, I just got back from the T3 Summit, which was, T3 stands for Technology Trends and Thought Leaders. And so one of the speakers there is Scott Smith, the COO of Market Leader, which if you didn't know, Zillow just bought Market Leader. So he said there are 3 things, which goes right hand in hand with what Jen just said. 3 things that realtors have to do: generate leads, manage leads, and follow up within 3 minutes or less.
Yeah. So I put together a spreadsheet that actually will track my conversion rate. And I track it from lead coming in to appointment to sale. And I track whether or not I've contacted them and track their status. And I actually track every source individually, so I know what my return on investment is and where I need to spend my marketing dollars, where it's best spent.
Okay.
So my name's Ryan. Actually, we work together, all 3 of us. We came from Easy Street, which she didn't mention the name, but so no, that company's all about the web leads, generating web leads. So that's one of the reasons why I went there. I've been doing it since 2012. Going on my 3rd year, 2.5, not that long. So Easy Street, my first year there, I did 26 deals, straight up all internet leads, which I thought was pretty good for my first year. And for me, when I first got into this business, I told myself I was going to try to find the top agents and the firm that I go to, which I'm sitting next to 2 of them right here. So that was my idea. It was just, I'm going to track these guys down, befriend them, I'm going to try to get to know them. And one of the reasons was because I want to emulate them. I wanted to listen to their conversations.
He was always hanging out at the office.
Yeah, I was always around
Like
them.
listening to our
I would sit on the
conversation.
other side of the
Right next to
cubicle.
us.
No, I'd be for a while. I would sit on the other side of the
You could be
cubicle,
like, oh.
just kind
You
of
would
dipping
stand
in.
like this.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while I'd say something, and they'd be like, what? Who's that? Right?
But he asked great questions. Or
So I was
he'd say,
always asking
walk me through
questions.
that conversation again.
And what I came to the conclusion was, it doesn't matter how good she's on the phone or how good she's on the phone. I have to be good on the phones. Like, I can't use her techniques. I can't use her techniques. So for me, it just came down to everything they said. You get a lead, call it within the first 5 minutes, is what we used to always say, the first 5 minutes. And then just be good on the phone. Always come from a business contribution. Try to find out what their needs are. And a lot of times when you get these calls, because the way we did it was, we were calling them. And so sometimes they're like, well, we're actually still on the site, you know, and sometimes you get hung up on, but it's persistence. And for me, I think it's fun. Every 20 person I talk to, I could get an appointment out of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think we just got disconnected.
Right,
What
right.
I was saying was,
So and a lot of times what you have to do,
Absolutely.
when you're calling somebody that doesn't expect you to call them, sometimes these guys have objections, like, oh, they're just looking. So if you can figure out what those objections are, what their roadblocks are, why they think they can't purchase a home, get around that, and then just keep talking. The whole time you got to keep talking, asking them questions, and then listen to what they have to say. So one of the things I did too is I have Google Voice, and I used to record my phone calls. Because I thought after a while, like, man, I'm pretty good on the phones. But then after I started recording my phone calls, listening to them, I was like, man, I'm not that great. I could be better. Like, I cut people off, you know, and then you could hear someone's deflection or their demeanor change in a conversation. When I cut them off, they give up, type of thing. So start listening to your phone conversations, and then once again, still always try to emulate others to the best of your ability, I think, and try to surround yourself by the top agents.
Kelly, will you do me a favor? Will you take some notes? Do you have something there? If you want my iPad?
here.
There you go. I have a pen if you need that. All right, Jan?
I have been in the industry now since 2005. Backgrounds in new home sales also. Went into general real estate in 2009 and started doing all my own internet leads in 2011. So I've been marketing online for years, mainly through the same ones that these guys do, Builder.com, Trulia, and Zillow. Last year, I think 52, maybe, over 50 of my sales were all internet leads. And my total was 80 homes last year, so over 50% of my business comes from the internet. What's huge is open-ended questions. So whenever I make that first phone call, like I've always heard agents like, "Oh, are you working with an agent?" I'm like, "Don't say that, because that's a yes/no question. It's an easy out for them." So I've always just tried to figure out, okay, how do I keep them talking? What commonality can I find right away? And it could be anything from the neighborhood to just getting in a general conversation with them. I don't give up. Persistence. I've had people say, "Don't call me again." Okay, great. Well, next time you are looking for an agent, you probably want someone that is going to be aggressive and continue to call. So keep me in mind. And it's one of two things that's going to happen. Either they're never going to call me or they're going to call me. But I got a 50-50 shot either way. I've had people come back and say that the reason why they've used me is because I wouldn't give up, or because they told me, "Oh, I have an agent," or, now I say, "Oh, have you signed paperwork with him yet?" "No, not yet." "Okay, so you don't have an agent yet. So let me figure out how I can work for you." Other than that, I think a huge part of it is having a system in place so that you continue to follow up. Text messaging has been huge because people don't always respond, or they see the random number and they don't answer it. So normally after I call 2 times, I'll send a quick text, and we get a good response that way.
Yeah, people like texting.
Yeah,
Non-threatening.
it's very non-threatening.
Because you get to read the message and decide if you want to respond.
Oh, you could
Right.
call them and immediately text them, and they will not answer your phone call, but they will answer
Text
your
you right
text.
back.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So this year, I would say probably 60 to 70% of our business will come from internet leads again.
So are you guys all using some form of contact manager? Software?
Yeah.
Yes.
And if so, which
Oh.
ones?
Jen and I both own Top Producer, right?
Yeah, Top Producer, which is very intimidating, but I'm still figuring it out.
I have Top Producer, but I haven't figured it out, just like that.
Okay.
So my system is a envelope, and no envelope, and I just print the email.
It's
It'll leak
unfortunate.
information.
Yeah, actually, why
Mine's a
don't you share
spreadsheet.
that,
Take notes
share
right on
yours,
it.
because yours is a pretty simplified version
Yeah.
of Top Producer. It's called Paper Producer.
Right.
But give them your quick version, because I do think it's, for a lot of people, would be.
So the lead, I get an email, it has the details, the property, the name, phone number if they provided, which they usually don't, and I get an email address. So I print that email, then I put a number 1, a 2, and a 3 on there. And as I send the first email, I circle the 1, the second email, circle the 2, third email, circle the 3, and then put a date. What date I sent that third email. So I've got an envelope. It's called In the Works. And so if I'm sitting at my desk and I need something to do, I just start going through that folder and see who I haven't contacted in 3 or 4 days, and if I do call or send an email, write that date down, so I don't call them every 2 days or every day.
And that's the system that you've been using to track the last 5 that you've